So, hi everybody. I'm going to hand you over straight away to Julia Burrows, who's going to talk to us a bit about what she's been up to and her Saturday Pattern Club and her online courses, and then go through with you some simple sleeve adaptations. Hello, Julia. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. I don't know whether you managed to download the sleeve or and have paper to hand, but later on you can actually follow on and do the pattern with us if you like. So if you have that to with you to hand when we start on that. Now the Saturday Pattern Cutting Club comes out of an idea that Dawn and I were discussing following our rather successful workshops that we do at the Knitting and Stitch Show and the Stitch Festival, where I do just a sort of bite-sized class, basically teaching somebody how to adapt a commercial pattern or a block and do several different designs out of it. So if you have a pattern for a dress that you like, you can change up the sleeves, you can change up the neck, you could move your darts around. And they're just 2-hour classes that I do when I do those workshops. And we thought it'd be really nice if we could do something that we could do more regularly and have it more people being able to attend, because those are only 20 people twice a year. And so this is how this sort of format was born. And it's sort of aimed at both home sewers, arts, textiles, and DT teachers. And it's going to be really sort of simple in the sense that it'll just be one thing that we'll follow in any one week. So in this example, we're doing sleeves, but it'll also be, we'll do bodice, we'll do skirts, we'll do skirt designs, but it'll follow something through its entirety in that little section in what's able to do in 2 hours. And over the course of doing them, over the year or however long we keep on doing them for, you can learn to be quite proficient pattern cutters. And if you're working with students, you can help them change designs and slip things on from a commercial pattern. So basically, you can use a commercial pattern and a block throughout all of these things and change them up or hack them up, as they say in the industry, and that will do that. And so tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to basically adapt a commercial pattern or a block that you have for another garment that you might want to add to a garment, how you make sure that that sleeve head still fits your garment, and how you can make that pattern that you got from a commercial pattern, if it's a flared pattern, how can you bring it back to sort of basic pattern that you can use to create other designs with. So that's in the short term, we'll do that. And time allowing, I will show you samples from the next 3 courses that are coming up so you can see what that will be. And if you want to ask any questions throughout, you can take your mic off and just ask me, or you can put it in the typing bit section. That was a bit of a waffle, that last bit. So let's get started. So all the classes are only going to be 2 hours, and you don't have to buy all of them. You get it cheaper if you do buy them in bulks of 4, but you can literally just join the ones that are of interest for you. So if you think that what you'd really like to do is learn how to do some collars, then you just join the collar one. And if you want to change skirts, you join the skirts ones, and they'll come around in different sessions and with different things, so you'll learn different things. So let me start on to night's one. Okay, so we're doing sleeves, and of course there are millions of varieties of sleeves, and here are just pictures of some of them. We have sort of big full sleeves, you have short sleeves, you have things like where they bell at the bottom, where they bell at the top, where they frill out, where you puff them out, where they done like a bishop sleeve here with the cuff and the thing, little frilly tops, creative industry, little sections like this. So there's millions of different variations of sleeves that you can do. And it's a very simple way to change a garment. So if you have a dress that you really like, or a dress that you've seen somewhere that you really like and you think you might like to make it slightly differently, one of the easy things to change is your sleeve. So you can just go to and think of different ways of doing it. And all of them will come in separate ways of constructing them and how to get the fullness or remove fullness as you go. So we could either use in all cases a block, and if you would like to learn how to make blocks, we actually have 3 courses up online already, which is a skirt one, there's a simple bodice block with a sleeve, and there's a darted bodice block with a sleeve. So you can actually learn to create your block to fit you personally if you want to. Or you grab your commercial pattern that you've been using, that you really like and enjoy wearing, you know it fits you well and you're happy with it, and you would use your commercial pattern. In this case, I've got a picture of 2 sleeves that look very, very similar, and ideally that's the one that you would like to start with, because you wouldn't need to do too much alteration to it to use it, because it looks a bit like a basic block. And if you were using, why is this not just moving on? If you're going to use a commercial pattern, you would need to start by cutting out your own size, the size that you would usually use, and you need to remove the seam allowance. Any work that we do to patterns at this stage, before they, what we call our working patterns, and before they become a finished pattern that you can use to create a garment with, has to be without seam allowance. Because as you make alterations and move things about, if you've got seam allowance on it, it distorts your whole pattern. So you would cut that out and you would remove your seam allowance entirely to start with. So in each case, in this case, I'm going to show you a film and then talk about it. And later on, I'll show you a film and then we will actually do it step by step afterwards. So this is on how to measure your sleeve head accurately to ensure that it fits the armhole of a bodice. So if you take a pattern from another pattern that you want to add to a dress or a blouse that you've got because you like that style and it's got significance to it, then you need to ensure that it'll actually fit the armhole you've got. So this section is showing you how you would do that.
Can I just ask, can everybody see the,
No, we can't. There isn't a PowerPoint showing.
there isn't a PowerPoint showing?
No, I don't think it's being shared.
Hold on, just want to stop that. Sorry.
Can everybody, can somebody else also say whether or not that they can actually see the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so whoever said that yeah, everybody can see it. It's fine.
Okay.
I don't know why it's not showing for you. I can't see what your name is, sorry.
So can I continue?
You can continue, yes.
Requires you measuring on a curve. You'll need to hold your tape measure upright on the edge. You can't measure around corners on the flat. So you would bend it and take it around the edge, as we don't have seam allowance, so right around the edge of the sleeve head, and measure holding the tape measure on its edge. Write down your measurements on your pattern so that you've got there for reference. You would then do exactly the same with the armhole, measuring it, the tape measure on its edge.
Now, it is important that we always measure like that with the tape measure on its head, because that way you can get around the bends. If it's flat, you're having to move it like that and you can't do it accurately. So you can either use a tape measure or a bendy ruler. So a bending ruler will also do the same sort of thing. Well, so once we've established that we've measured it and we've discovered that maybe our sleeve is a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger than the armhole and we need to change it, we'll do the next step. However, if you're using a woven fabric, your sleeve head should be about 1.5 to 2 centimeters bigger than the armhole, because you ease that in when you sew. So that gives you a nice, lovely head to your sleeve. So you ease that in. Anything more than that becomes a bit difficult to do. You sometimes will have it with jackets to get a really puffy one, but on a standard sleeve, it's about 1.5 to 2 centimeters. And so the next step we'll do, we need to, we either have to make our sleeve head longer, or we've got to make it shorter accordingly. And so I'll just show you the video and then we can.
We've measured our sleeve head and we've measured our armhole. And we've discovered that our sleeve head is either too long or too short for our armhole, even allowing for the 1.5 centimeters ease that we allow extra in the sleeve head. If we want to add extra length into our sleeve head, we can raise the sleeve head by about 1 centimeter and then to curve back to match sleeve as it goes under the arm. These alterations are for a small amount of disparity in length. We recheck and measure to see if it's now about accurate by rising it just by a centimeter or a centimeter and a half. But we still discover we need a little bit more into our sleeve head. So we're going to extend on the bicep. We again only want to do small amounts onto this level, but you don't want to increase your bicep too much and make it too baggy under the arm. So we go out about 5 millimeters either side, allowing a centimeter across that, maybe 7 millimeters, possibly push it to 1. And connect to your hem. With no extra added on at the hem, just diagonal line down to the hem. If we need to reduce the sleeve head, we would do it in the opposite direction. So we'd come down 1 centimeter and curve back to where the curve starts to go under the arm. Try not to let anything become too pointed where it meets that center line. Then maybe you need to put a little straight line across the top, a small one, just to make sure that it's not too pointed. Then we'd recheck again, then it's all right. And we decided we need to remove a little. And so this time we'd come in. Again, a very small amount because you don't want this to become too tight across the bicep. If we discover at this point, when we remeasure and check, that you still need extra, there's a different method to do this. So you would cut out your pattern, ready to do the next alteration. You require it.
So basically, it's quite a simple alteration, either lifting or lowering the sleeve head. A centimeter 1.5 also will give you generally the amount of extra that you might need if they're similar patterns to start with, and coming down the side. But as I said in the video, you can't do too much here because otherwise you're getting your sleeve head too high or too shallow, or your bicep too long or too tight. So it's just small amounts to give the alteration and the fit to that one. If we're going to if we need to do more, then we do a different alteration where we open up the top of the sleeve head, and that will also give a little bit of extra fullness in the sleeve.
If extra length is still required, you're going to cut down from the top of your sleeve head to the bicep down the center line. Then you'll cut from this position down the bicep to the side of the sleeve to create a hinge. Then repeat on the other side. Place onto another piece of paper You will open up the sleeve head at the top, widening it to the desired amount that you need. You'll notice that this forms a little bit of a triangle of open space below as well. And at that stage, you would stick it down. You would recheck your length of your sleeve head and your armhole to make sure that it now is how you would like it to be. At the top of your head has got a nice curve and is actually not too pointy. Shorten the sleeve head, you would do the opposite. You would bring it down and overlap the top. This time you'll be taking a bit out of the layer part of the sleeve. Once again, you'll check that there is a nice curve at the top. It is flat and it's a good shape. Once again, check that your sleeve matches your armhole.
So in this method, you can actually open that relatively wide, depending on how much you need. You can also, because it gives a little bit of extra fullness into this section of the sleeve, it'll actually make it maybe looser as well on that section as well. So it's adding in some to the bicep just by default of how it goes, but it's giving it at the top of the sleeve. So your finished pattern would look like the one on the right-hand side. And obviously the blue part would be part of your pattern. And to that, you would then add your seam allowance before you used it to sew with. You might have...
Get extra length.
You might, on the other hand, have a pattern piece that you like that fits the garment that you're already working with, and you know the sleeve head fits it and you're happy with that, but it actually has fullness in it. And you've now got to bring it back to being a little bit more like a block so that you can actually do any style or design into it as you desire, as you want. So in this case, you're going to reverse what you would have done had you taken a block and made it into a flared pattern, and you're going to reverse it the other way.
If you're starting with the flared sleeve, we need to remove the flare. So we're going to do what we would do if we were flaring but in reverse. So you're going to mark up 3 lines from the hem to the sleeve head, even distance apart. Okay, both on the left and the right of your center line. You will then cut up from the hem to the sleeve head, just leaving a small hinge at the top. Place this on another piece of paper and stick down your center panels to secure. You want to make this edge now the same as your sleeve hem edge, or the desired edge of your sleeve as you require. So now we need to remove volume from the bottom. So we'll measure into the first panel the amount that we decide to take out, and take your first wool strip and overlap it and sellotape it down. Repeating on the opposite side. Follow up by doing the same on the next one. Repeating both sides. And lastly, I'm going to finish on your other side. And now you have reduced the width of the base, but you've kept the shape of the sleeve head. So the sleeve head hasn't changed in any way. That's exactly the same as it was, but you've reduced the bottom.
Okay, so that's a fairly simple alteration. So you're flaring. We talk about hinging at the top when we cut right up as close to the edge as we possibly can, so that you can actually move your pieces. And we use that format in pattern cutting a lot, where there's a little hinge to move things along. If you do by some chance cut up, just put a bit of sellotape on it and go again, as far as you need to do. But you can't go too far down. If you don't go far enough up, it will just make little pleats, and then you'll reduce the length of something at the top. So you need to cut it so it's almost through, but not. So now we actually have either a block or a sleeve that we've prepared to be able to do a style with it. So we're going to make something now. So if you're going to make this along with me, if you've printed off the little sleeve block, so it'll be on a piece of paper. If you've got that and some A4 paper, and we will go step by step. And we're going to, you have chosen a leg of mutton sleeve, because it's quite a nice, slightly different sleeve to do and gives volume. And it also shows you sort of various different skills as you go. So this is the little top. I make everything in half size, because it's easier to film and doesn't take as much fabric. And as you can see, the fullness on this sleeve comes up to the top there. And because it's going to come down as far as your waist, you can see the fullness there, and then it becomes narrower towards the bottom. And that's the characteristic of a Lego mutton sleeve. So it's narrower here, and then it comes fuller and puffs right up at the top.
That's your sleeve if you do not already have a pre-print.
So sorry, let me just go back there. And I'll just start. So we'll do the video first, and then I'll do step by step with you. So if you just watch the video, and then we'll go step by step through with it. And if you need to ask me questions as we're going, please just turn on your camera or your mic and come in. But we'll just watch this first. We can always come back to it if you'd like to see it again.
Place out your sleeve if you do not already have a pre-printed version. Make sure you put in all your lines and markings. So your center line, your bicep, and your wrist. Cut out your sleeve. If it's on a sheet, pre-printed, cut that out. You now just have your sleeve pattern. You're going to open out and spread open the head of your sleeve to give volume. You're going to take the volume down as far as your wrist. So at your wrist, at the center, we're going to measure up.
That should be elbow. I said the wrong word.
Pattern. It would be 4 centimeters on a full size pattern. From this point, 2 centimeters above the wrist, you're going to take a diagonal line back to the wrist at the side, on both sides. Then we're going to open up the sleeve head. So we're going to measure down from your center line 1 centimeter on the half size either side, 2 centimeters if you were working on a full pattern. And connect a line to the point as drawn. Plus mark in your middle line, as you'll be cutting away from that and knead it. We're now going to slash down these lines to be able to open up the top to get the fullness. So cut down your side lines as shown, and then through from that point down to your side seam. ensuring that you don't cut through and you leave a hinge. Repeat on the other side. We'll be opening this all up at the top to give the extra fullness. And this bit at the bottom where the V opens up creates the puff. Remove the middle bit, and we'll put that to one side. The top of that will be helping to give a nice shape to the top of your sleeve. We're going to be spreading out the two parts at the top. So on another piece of paper where you've drawn a center line, make sure the center line of the sleeve is sitting on this position, and then you're going to measure out from that center line centimeters either side of the center line that you've drawn on your new piece of paper. If you were doing this in full size, you would decide on how much fullness you wanted and how much puffiness you wanted in your leg off button sleeve. Make sure it's all sitting on the vertical line and secure the bottom by sellotaping this down. Open out one side to meet the point that you've just marked and sellotape that down. Repeat again on the following side. Now your centerpiece is going to sit on the center line at the same height as the triangle that's formed in the middle of the sleeve. But we're going to be spreading this out, so cut down the center. Place the point and just hold in place with your finger for where that is going to be sitting. Draw a little line at the top to keep the shape for when this is open, and then spread out either side about midway of the gap and sellotape down. Place a little dotted line connecting your edges just as a guideline before you use your curves. Using a curve, fill in the space. So now you've got the fullness across the top and you've created the puffiness you want in the sleeve. When it all comes in and gets gathered in, it'll give you a full sleeve. Sellotape down your point. Now we don't want a sharp point either side, so we'll just curve off that line. And when you finish, just double check that those seams still match because they'll need to be sewn together. It's back in the front side seam. And you're ready to cut out and seam allowance and mark up.
Okay, so you can see the system and what how we're working it and what it ultimately look like, what the pattern will look like. So we're going to start doing it together. So I hope most of you are going to join in with me. I can't see anybody, so I don't know if you are or aren't, but hopefully you are. And if you want to just sort of make sure that you've cut out your block, if you've got it there, or your pattern, just so it's all ready to start. The version that we're doing as I've shown you with these slits and the lines where they are, we're working on a half size block, so all the measurements that I give you are half size. However, if you do a full size one, you would need to double those measurements. So just take that into account. So trace off or cut out your sleeve block. And if somebody could let me know when they've done that, I can move on, if possible. Or I'll just count a bit. Okay, I'm presuming that that's been done, so I'm going to move on. So on your block pattern, we're going to go, and I said the wrist, but actually it was the elbow that we're working with. That was a mistake on my talking through the video thing, but So we're going to go on the middle line of your sleeve at the elbow position, which is where that line is drawn. We're going to lift up 2 centimeters. So measure up that line 2 centimeters and make a mark. If this was full size, then that would be 4 centimeters. And once you've made that mark, you're going to draw a line from the center line to the side seam, meeting the elbow line. Lots of lines in that sentence. And repeat on the other side. Following on from there, we're going to go up to our sleeve head, the top of our sleeve head. And we're going to draw 2 lines from on the left and the right of the center line. Now, it doesn't really matter how much you measure out here. It's sort of up to you because it's just going to be widened and shortened. So 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, as long as the left and the right are exactly the same. So you'll measure out from that line at the sleeve head, your 2 centimeters, etc. And you're going to then draw a diagonal line that meets the top of your triangle here. So, sorry, let's get that off. Sorry about that. And so it meets that point there. And then you do the same on the other side, and so it meets that point. Then we're going to sometimes it moves on without me. Then we're going to cut down one side, and you come through, and then you cut down towards the point. So you're cutting from the top down the center and to meet the seam. Again, you're keeping this little hinge at the end. Sorry, again, my husband, who should know better because he knows what I'm doing. So you're going to cut down that line we've done, then we're going to repeat again on the other side. So similar thing on the other side. So you're opening up this space. So this area that's we adding in volume to in the middle here, and this area here is creating the puff. And the more you widen up, the greater the puff will be. So if you want a very, very exaggerated leg of mutton sleeve, then you would open that a lot. And if you wanted it to just slightly gentle one like this is, then you would open it less. So that amount would be entirely up to you. So once we've cut that down, take another piece of paper and draw a line down the center. Take your your pattern, your cut pattern part. You've removed the center section, and place the center line on the lower half of your sleeve, center line of this part of your sleeve. On that line, make sure it all lines up, and then you can sellotape the section down to ensure that it's secured to the paper. So from your middle line, so the continuation here, the middle line up there, for this particular one, we're going to measure 7 centimeters and make a dot. And you repeat that on the other side, 7 centimeters and make a dot. And then you're going to open up both the left and the right and place them to meet the 2 little dots that you've made. And then you can stick those down to secure them in place. Okay, then cut down the middle of your triangle section, cut down the middle there. And once you've done that, just place it so that the point of this little triangle section here is in the middle of those 2 sections there. So it'll be on the line, and it'll be exactly the same height, matching the same height on that section. Then mark at the top before we open out. Mark at the top of that, because that'll show you where the top of your sleeve head is as you go through it. So you mark it up. And then, holding it into place with your fingers, swing your little bits out, your sort of panel pieces out there. Get them approximately halfway. Again, it doesn't really matter, but approximately halfway between your middle and that part of your pattern, and the same on the other side. Sort of approximately halfway between those 2. And sellotape it down. And lastly, we're going to draw in our sleeve head. So I just do little dots as a guideline to be able to get the curve later. It's not essential again. You can just do it with a curve tool of some kind, or a plate or anything that you have that creates a curve. And we are going to then draw in our pattern there. And then over to the other side. Over there. And then we're going to mark up our pattern. So this is our rough pattern. We're going to make it into a finished pattern. And so you would trace that out onto a new piece of paper, cut it out. You would add on your seam allowances, you'd put in your notches, you'd put in your zigzag lines to say that this is going to be gathered into the armhole. Your grain line needs to go on, which is basically the center line here is your grain line, and you would state what it is and how many you need to cut. And that pattern is complete. Now, there's also more than one way to do something like this. There's never just one set way. So you originally saw how we marked this one up. If you wanted to put it so you got more fullness down the front, the top of the sleeve, so if you wanted more fullness here rather than a round fullness there, you would do it by making it in this version. And if you wanted it very puffy to the top and tight quite quickly afterwards, you could use that version. And in our oh, no, it says end and exit. I think it is. So you could use that one. And so in our pattern classes that we'll do, any sleeve that I do that, or any pattern piece that has more than one way you could do something, we will do that. So we'll do all three types of mutton top, so you could see it. We would do for example, a cap sleeve, and we would do the gathered cap sleeve, the puffy cap sleeve, and the ordinary cap sleeve. So you can really understand exactly why you're doing what you're doing and what it achieves. So when you see them made up, you can see how they look and how they look differently. And then we would do maybe 3 or 4 sleeves like that, so you can understand them. So the very first course we're going to be running, which is on the 1st of November, we're going to be doing dart manipulation or moving darts. So a general pattern, and see, hopefully you can see these, the general pattern that you get that a block has a dart up here, okay? But you sometimes get one in a commercial pattern stuff with the darts there. But you might not want your darts to stay in those positions. Now, darts are there to give shape. They're giving shape and form to your body. So they're an important part of constructing a garment. I would go as far as saying that you should always, as a woman, have a dart somewhere if you really want something to fall and hang properly. I'm very hot on them. But you say you might not want to be there, and you might actually want to move your dart into a different position. Well, there are lots of positions they can go in. So we will do an exercise where you learn to move those darts anywhere you like on the pattern. We'll also then take the next step from that, and the next step from that is to make your darts into designs. So a dart doesn't have to stay as a dart. It's just a dart is just a form of moving volume, and you can remove volume from anything really when you want to and where you want to put it, and you can create the shape by making it into something else. So this little version here, it's got 2 little pleats. So the darts have been changed into pleats. So that becomes a design feature rather than simply a dart. And there are lots of things like you can do gathers, you can do tucks, you can do lots of different things. So we would do that in different formats. And
Julia,
Hmm?
can you stop sharing so that we can see what you're doing?
oh, okay, yes, of course I can. Instead of holding it up to little pictures.
Yeah.
So here, in this particular one here, I've got this one we've done what we call French darts. So we've done 2 French darts here that makes it into a design feature. You might want to do fancy darts up the front. So that first one will be doing how to adapt and design different darts into different garments and make your patterns interesting or changed. The following one, we're not going to use a block at all. We're going to learn how to make, and this one you will make actually for yourself. So we're going to learn how to make a single panel for a 6 or 8 or 10 panel skirt, and all the variations you can do with it. So this, for instance, is just using 6 panels, and it makes a lovely fitted skirt that will fit you perfectly because it'll be done to your measurements. And that just has a nice curve there and fits down straight. But that can also become a flared skirt, which we call a gored skirt, or a one with little girders there, little triangles that go into it, giving you flare. It can be a fishtail. So if you just want flare at the bottom, fishtail, or you can do a patchwork. Was that the right way around? A patchwork one. So we'll learn how to do those, and those ultimately we'll learn the little ones on half size, but your panel will be made to fit you. So that's something that you can just go away straight away and do it. And that's just a version of a 12 thingamajig. And they say these skirts are really nice because they give a nice fit to the top and then whatever you want. Then the third one in the session is how to adapt a skirt, block or pattern, into various different styles. So if you've just got a straight skirt, what you want to do with it, you can learn how to add a button front. You can learn how to make it into a flared skirt. Then this one is pleats. You can do little pleats and a wraparound. So those are all the various different versions of that.
Can I just add that these are for the teachers who are with us, these are great, doing the little half-size ones as a demo, having examples that you have in school in the classroom, so that if a student wants to do a different, variety of different ways of making a skirt, like putting pleats in, box pleats, fan pleats, whatever it is, or they want to do go days or whatever it is that they want to do, you can show them these little mini samples that you've actually made. It's great to have that. I've seen several schools where I've been in, and the teacher has actually created their own samples, like Julia's just shown you, and they're brilliant to show in class.
It's also it's common using a half size is actually a common teaching tool. So when I teach, it's always done on a half size because it means that the student can actually learn to understand it using something that's not too complicated, too big. And you as the learner is the same thing. You get it into your brain first, and then you go into a full size, your size pattern, and you've already understood the format of it. So it's not so daunting as when you do it. And it's a common practice, also common in couturiers. When couturiers plan their designs, they use half size dummies, which is what I use in my studio, and they conceive the design and the concept draping on a half size dummy, and then they enlarge it later on in life. So it's a very normal format to work in. And the fourth one we're going to do is sleeves. I haven't got any samples for you yet because I haven't made them all yet. But there'll be a variation again of 4 or 5 different sleeves and the variations of those within it. And it's what we can fit into the thing. We also already have a Facebook page, and we will work on the forum within Academy, so that we hopefully build up a whole group of you who want to learn to do different things, where you can speak to each other or speak to me. And at times, maybe I'll just do a little short, live Facebook thing for you on just something one day and stuff. So it means that you can build up a sort of group of people who are interested in the same thing.
Has anybody got any questions for Julia? I've put the link to the Saturday Club in the chat. In the email that you'll get tomorrow, there will be a link to that again, and to this recording, and also to the pattern, the short courses that Julia mentioned earlier. Somebody's asking, thanks, where do you get your half-size patterns and mannequins from?
Well, my mannequin I actually got off Facebook, but I knew the brand that I wanted, and that was fine. And I found that was the cheapest one to do. But there are other mannequin makers who make half-size blocks. My particular one was about £150, but I use it all the time, so it's great. The patterns themselves, I've made blocks for my dummies, and I use those blocks to create the patterns. So you just measure up your dummy as you'd measure up a human, and you make your blocks accordingly, and then do your patterns for it.
Somebody's asking if it's being recorded. It is being recorded, and it will be going up on YouTube.
Yeah, you can go if you didn't get a chance to do the sleeve step by step with me, then you can go back and do it. You can go back and do it later. I find that if you start doing some of these things, so often we think that pattern cutting is actually quite complicated, and it is when you first start. It is, and it does take a while to learn it and to understand it, but it's going to. So that was to tell me when I had to close up.
Yeah, you've got 9.
and so yes, I forgot what I was going to say. So yes, and also someone just asked, the pattern Saturday clubs will also be recorded, and if you are on the course, you'll obviously be able to tame that. And if you didn't make it, we will be selling them on Academy as a little mini course later.
Yeah. So yes, the Saturday Club, if you the Saturday Club is £20 a session for 4 sessions. If you want to buy all 4 sessions, you'll get them for 60 quid instead of 80. So it's a bargain, and it's 2 hours on a Saturday morning once a month, and it starts on the 1st of November. And yes, they will be recorded, and any information that is given during that session will be then sent to you on a follow-up email. So you won't miss it. If you can't make a session and you've paid for it, then you will be able to actually then go back and get the recording and all the information that Julia's actually been given that day. So it's great. It's a really worthwhile value for money, I think. Lots of really good value for money. We're
And
also giving a 20% discount on her three short courses. And the code for that is just going to put it into patterns 20. So if you use the code patterns 20 on any of her short courses, you'll get 20% off those. Right, I don't think there's any more questions from what I can see. Everybody's saying thank you. Somebody asked, which brand is it that you like for the mannequin? Which mannequin brand did you like?
can I send that to Dawn to send to you?
Yeah, I'll put that in the email.
It's good. It's if there's something or other, but I just need to look at my dummy and go. And it's actually it's got a really nice little fit to it, and it's quite a good proportionate half size. Well, we refer to it in the industry as a half size 12. I mean, a half size 12 now is basically a 10, because if we went through all the sizing, you know, Dawn could give it. We could both give you a whole talk on vanity sizing,
yeah.
but actually it is quite a close sample size measurement. But just to say on the courses, because we also we do the block courses are there for you to do if you'd like to take them up. But there's also quite a nice one that seems to be rather popular on fabrics. It's just a short introduction to fabrics.
Yeah.
And one of the key things in pattern cutting is actually knowing your fabrics, if you can, because they've all fall and behave differently. So often before we start pattern cutting, if that was what we were doing from in industry, we would actually have the fabric that we knew we wanted to use, because then we know that we're cutting it to drape or to hang or to look the way we want. Because obviously a heavy cotton denim is going to fall differently from a very light cotton cheesecloth. You know, so you sort of think. So there's also a fabric course up there, and I think it's been quite a good seller, that one, Dawn, hasn't it?
That has been. It's fibers and fabrics, introduction to fibers and fabrics, and I'll put the 20% discount on that as well, actually, because that's about the same price. Do we do any draping? Will you do any draping? Possibly.
Yeah, possibly. Not at the moment, but possibly. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you ever so much, Julia. It's been
Pleasure.
as usual. I love these sessions, and I'm a pattern cutter myself, and I love anything to do with pattern cutting and listening to how other people actually approach pattern cutting, which is brilliant. So thank you all for coming. And as I said, this is being recorded. I'm now going to stop the recording, and this will go up onto the YouTube channel later on tonight, and you will get an email with all the links and the Dropbox links and everything with the information that you need tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.